Okay, on the dashboard, I want you guys all to go to Appearance and go to Themes. And we just talked about this very briefly last week. The 2019, 2017, and 2016 themes are pre-populated, and then I think we just went and looked and grabbed another one and practiced with it. I'd like to make sure that we're all using 2017 so we kind of see the same issues come up as far as when we go to customize it and do some other things. So if this 2017 isn't active, click on the Activate button down at the lower left here. Mine says Customize because I'm already in it. So let's make sure we're all in that. Then let's go up to the Pages section. Last week we added some pages, and what's the difference between a page and a post again? What's a page meant for?
More permanent information that doesn't change all that frequently.
Yeah, the stuff that always stays the same. So in that Morton video, he called it evergreen and ephemeral, which I thought was funny. But the stuff that isn't going to change. And also, typically stuff that people don't post on social media. They wouldn't share your Contact Us page or your prices page probably on social media. But if you made a post about a big party that's coming up, that's something they would likely share. That's more of a post. So we made some pages last week. We made a home page. We made a news page. We talked about that privacy policy, how that's legally very important for your company to have. We made a Contact Us and an About page. And then the way WordPress works by default is that it assumes it's a blogging site and it's going to want to show your latest posts on your front page, on your home page. So we talked about how if you go into Settings and go to Reading tab, this is where we change that. And this is important if you want it to be different. So by default, it's going to be your latest posts up here. But what we really want is it to be a static page. We want our home page to be the one that we built called Home, not that there's much in it right now. And we want our posts to go to a page that we built called News. So if ever your home page isn't behaving the way you're expecting, check this. Make sure that you have this set up. And again, you can't do this until you build some pages. You have to have a home page built. It can be blank, but you have to create it and call it Home so that it shows up in this drop-down box before you can link to it. All right? Let's go back to Pages, and let's go to our home page and click Edit. Let's see what we have brewing on that. Okay, we talked about, I told you how WordPress is new this year from anything the way I've taught it before. They have this new thing called the block editor or the Gutenberg editor. And so now every time you type something, it shows up as a block. And blocks are kind of cool. Well, they're very cool actually. But we can change them from one kind of block to another. So if it's text-based, we can change it to different versions of text. If it's photo-based, image-based, we can change it to different versions of that. And we can save and reuse these blocks. So we're going to populate this page practicing a bunch of these different block things that exist. So in this first block, this is the name of our page, and we called it Home. And that's how it's going to show up. If somebody clicks on the home page, this is where they're going. So this next block down, if you don't have these, start making them, because we're going to practice all these different blocks. By default, when you start typing, you get a paragraph block. So type in enough that you have and make it fake if you want. Don't hit enter though, because that takes you down to a new block. I didn't mean to do that. Remove it. Just keep typing gibberish until it wraps around. Okay, then you can hit return and it drops you down to a new block. When you see this, the first three things that show up over here on the right are probably the most common things that you are using. So it says, I'm guessing you might want an image block, or you might want another text block, or you might want to put in a gallery. After you've built for a while and you're using, say, 3 other things all the time, they'll populate as your 3 most common. But for now, those are the 3 most common. So let's just click on this first one and add an image. last week and or the week before, we started putting things in our media library so that we had access to some pictures. Hopefully that's the case, and you can click on the media library. And here are the random pictures that we have so far. So if you click on any one of them singly, over in the attachment details side, you'll get information on what that picture is about. So the nice thing here is that you can see the physical size. So I have this picture of the dog that's 3136 pixels by 47. It's a big image, right? That one I know is going to be quite large. Remember, we always do alt text because that's what screen readers and assistive technology need. And if you do the caption, I told you guys about that website called Unsplash, where you can get free, royalty-free stock photography, videos, graphics, whatever. And all they ask is that you consider giving them credit. So I copied and pasted their credit, and I added the photo credit in the caption. I could have put that in the description also, because in some themes, the caption will appear underneath the photo, and I don't necessarily want it that way. So actually, I think I'm going to move that. Change that. Put it down here. So if I want to use that photo, I'm going to say select. I want you guys to put a photo in here. Whenever you are working on a block, the details specific to that block show up at the top here. And this is just a small smattering of what's available. But if you look, the first one is showing us that it's an image, that icon right there. But if I hover over it, I get the double arrows, meaning, do you want to change it? So if we click on that, it's going to say, okay, I can change it to any one of these other things. Because it's an image already, you only have these 4 options. I can change it to a gallery, and obviously you'd have to have more. I can change it to a cover, I can change it to a file, or media and text. So we're going to see how each one of these works by practicing with them. But just know that this is where you could quickly change it if you wanted to. Also, you have the alignment options. So align left, align center, align right. Not a big difference showing up here because my image is almost as wide as my text column as well. The pencil is the edit image. That brings you back into the social media, the media upload. And there are things built into WordPress to edit images. So over here at the right, below the image, you see edit image. If you click on that, it's going to take us into here, and we have some options of cropping, turning it, mirroring it, rotating it, changing the aspect ratio, or changing the dimensions. Because you guys are graphic designers and know Photoshop, I wouldn't ever bother doing it in here. I would do everything in Photoshop and get it exactly how you want it there. But for people that don't have an image editing program, it's pretty awesome. They can do basic edits in here. All right, I don't want to do that. I think I'm just going to say update and hope nothing changed. There's the very big image. And go back to our pages. Go back to the home page. Oh, so what happened in the meantime while I was showing around is that I hadn't manually done any saving, but it says there's an autosave of this post that is more recent than your version below. View the autosave. This gives you a split screen. Sometimes, you guys ever had an issue where you're working with a client and they tell you to change something, and then 2 days later they come back and say, and never mind, go back to how it was, and you're crying because how it was you don't have anymore, or whatever, it takes a lot of work. This is pretty cool. Revisions, and you can have a bunch of these. There's only 2 right now, but if I had 5 revisions, I could arrow back and forth between these. So this is what it was. That was my starting point. This is after I put in the image and did some editing. So I can say which one do I want. And the autosave over here was not very great, or there's this one over here on the right. And there's only these 2. I gotta make sure I'm getting the one I want. Restore this autosave, and that brings me back to where I should have been. As you're working, it is saving in the background, but you can always click on the Save to Draft option to make sure that you're saving it. Okay, let's go down. Also, in the image that we have right here underneath, do you see write a caption? You have that choice right now. So you can go ahead and put in a caption, and then the information that shows up above it obviously is specific to the caption. So I could make it bold, italicized, I could hyperlink it to something. You could put in some code, whatever. So the basic editing options are right here on the image, but also over to the right, we have two different tabs. We have the document as a whole, and then we have the specific block that we're on. So with that block selected, I can come over here and see some other information. The alt text is here. The image size is showing up, thumbnail, medium, large, or full size. It's currently at large. In the link to settings, do you want this picture to be a hyperlink to something is the question. So right now it's set to none. You can have it link to the media file. So let's just say you're showing this picture as a smaller size. When they click on it, it shows the biggest version if they want to see that. That can be one option. The attachment page, I don't think you'd ever want to link to it, but I'll try to explain it as best I can. Every time you make an entry into the database, meaning we added this photo and we wrote the alt text, we wrote the description, we wrote a caption, all that stuff, that all gets stored as one single thing in the database. And if you ask to see the attachment page, you're basically going to get the picture and all the metadata, all that extra stuff displayed on one page. That's what it is. So I don't know why you would send your outward people there. Maybe if it's a photography site and you're trying to share some of the information that you have in the metadata that you include over here, there might be a reason for it. So typically it's going to be none, a media file, or a custom URL. Maybe that links to the Golden Retriever Society of Wisconsin or something like that. Okay. And then in the Advanced tab, we have Advanced CSS. So the more you learn with Sarah in your other class, the more you're going to learn how you can tweak these WordPress sites to really behave how you want by adding additional CSS. And this would overwrite whatever the theme is telling it. It's kind of like inline HTML styles where, you know, the overall rules apply unless there's something specific to the whole site. And those rules apply unless there's something more specific to that one page. Those rules apply unless there's something more specific to the two words that you highlighted and told to be Comic Sans bold. Okay? So when you put CSS on here, it's kind of overriding other rules and saying, do this on this page. Okay? All right, let's go down and add a new block. And if you're hovering down here and you don't see the new thing show up, it's also up here at the top left of your screen, the add a block. So if you're frustrated and you're not seeing that, there it is. Let's add a gallery, and that's one of the 3 shortcuts right now. Whoops. Is this treating it like one whole thing? I'm not sure if that's what it did. Let me try this again. Add a block, add a gallery. Okay. In the gallery, you could, again, upload directly from here. When you upload directly to a page, those photos get associated with that page as its initial landing point, but they're free to use in your whole site. They end up in your media library. So hopefully you have a bunch of pictures and we can just take all of them. Notice whatever you have selected shows up down here at the bottom and it tells you how many there are. And you can dump them out if you need to. And then click on Create New Gallery. In this box, you can reorder. So if the order of your gallery is not what you wanted, you can drag them around, put them wherever you want, and you can add captions. And then from there you would say Insert Gallery. You have a few options of how this gallery is going to behave based on the block editor over here on the right. Main one is columns. By default, it's 3. We could tell it to be 2 columns or 5 columns. Obviously, if you don't have 10 pictures, it's going to stretch out the other 2. So you can change that. This crop images, it's turned on by default. Let's turn it off And then let's do a preview. So up at the top of the page, we have the preview button. It's always good to go and look at your site live to see how it actually looks.
Can you move them around?
Pardon?
Can you switch them around if you wanted to?
The order? Yes, you could have.
Or be able to do it before?
You don't have to. You go back into the edit button, the little pencil, and now move them around in that view. Yep. So this is how this site is currently going to be looking. And where's my gallery? Oh, technology, I love you. What is this? Maybe I'm previewing that page. Oh boy, oh boy. Yep. I had too many files open. Pages. Home. All right, let's try that again. View the autosave.
Take that picture?
Okay. With your photo gallery, with the crop images turned off, what is going on? Are you guys seeing your gallery when you preview it? Yeah, of course. Well, the good news is, even without previewing it live, I can see how it behaves here in this screen. Sometimes you can't. So which version do you like? With the crop images on or off? That's where you can change that. Now, how this actually looks is theme dependent. So we're all on that same theme right now, but if we were to install a different theme, their default gallery could very well be different. The other thing is that there are plugins that you can add to your website for better galleries. So in photography sites, a lot of times we see the, words today, the light table thing, right? That's the name of that thing, not a light board. Oh my God.
I'm still thinking light beer. That's
Okay, it's the light beer. You put it on the light beer. So in special plugins for photo galleries, when you hover over a picture, quite often it shows you the big version of it. And if you like it, you can add it to the light table and look at it later and compare it later. So there's more powerful plugins. There are better galleries out there than the default one that comes with any given theme. And we'll probably use plugins to do that. Think about stuff that you really want to always work in your website, even if in 2 years your client says, I want a new theme. If everything that their site is doing is built in the theme alone, like the search engine optimization, the cool gallery, their forms, if they're all specific to just that theme, when you switch themes, you may lose them. They don't exist. But if you have a basic theme and you use plugins, you have a form plugin and an SEO plugin and a photo gallery plugin, those plugins can attach to any theme, so you won't lose the way your website works, which is pretty important. All right. I'm going to click Update, because I'm tired of this not working. Page updated. For the life of me, this is just the strangest thing. Switch to draft, preview, update, document. Visibility is published. Published on September 11th. That is not today. Huh. Who's on their
I also have that published September.
preview update?
That's me.
I feel like we have massive voodoo going on in here right now. Just while we're here, while everything is going to hell in a handbag, switch to the document tab, and this tells you what's going on. So right now this is a public page. It is published, but the last time it was published was September 11th, which is obviously last week. And I don't know, we'll get to that in a minute, but while we're here, I want you to look and see that you have these revisions. It's telling me, I don't want to leave site, that I've had 5 revisions to this page.
And if you click on that, it is going to show you all 5 of them. So again, if your client is having you change things over and over again and then saying, oh, go back to what we did on Tuesday, the nice thing is that in this revision section, you can actually see what you did and go backwards. The set featured image, we talked about this last week too. You should do that. Depending on the theme, this picture may show up in a banner. It may show up as just a traditional photo. So let's just make sure that we randomly pick a picture to be the featured image. And then this is a page. Very rarely do you want comments on a page. On a post you would, but not so much on a page. Then I'm going to click on update again. And why we are not being able to hit plain old publish? Does anybody have the publish button like we always did? Huh?
We'll have an update.
Just a little weird.
What is going on?
I don't think I've seen this.
All right.
So basically, it's like, it looks like
And when I click preview, oh, at least the preview's working. Well, not really. Isn't that funny? So for the preview, I put in this photo as my featured image, and this is what I get. And it's kind of that parallax idea where things scroll by or roll by. That's kind of neat. But sadly, my gallery still hasn't made the cut. Honestly. Okay, I went back to that switch to draft button up there and it said, do you want to leave the page? And I said yes. And thankfully, I'm back to this and I do see a publish button finally. That was really weird. So those of you that aren't seeing publish, perhaps it was because we were playing between those 2 revisions. Go back to the switch to draft button that was right here and then go ahead and click publish. It'll give you this second chance. Are you ready to publish? Do you really want to do it? Do you really want to make it public? And the last date was September 11th. This second version of Are You Sure is always going to pop up unless you tell it to stop it, which is at the bottom. If you guys see that checkbox, it says always show the pre-publish checks. So if that starts annoying you, you can turn it off. It's not a terrible thing to make sure you're on the right path. All right, let's keep going and look at some more of these blocks because this is where things do get a little bit interesting. Yes?
How come when I have it like this, and this is like working how I want it to look, that when I hit preview and when I go to my site, it switches and it's like this. Which is so weird. I can't get it to like save like this. The only reason it's like this is because I have this off to the right. Like if I center it, it goes down here. If I put it over here, it like automatically crosses.
So it's your alignment that's causing it to do that.
Yeah, it's weird. But then in the page, it doesn't actually look like that.
Click Save Draft. And now try preview. There's a great one. Themes and galleries.
This is another reason why you'd want to put in a plugin gallery that you can totally control the layout of and not be stuck with this one. Okay, page is published. That's great. Let's go back to that page and continue adding some things at the bottom. So after your gallery, click on the plus button, and I just want to go through this pop-up block. So the most used, the things that it thinks are most likely to be used, show up first. After that, we have some things that you can spin out. Common blocks, things that are common. Layout elements, maybe you want columns instead. Maybe you want a page break or a separator, like dotted lines to separate your content. Those are some of the layout elements. Widgets we'll get to, and embeds we'll get to later today, actually. I want you to go back up to the most used, and let's just type in, let's click on a heading. And let's type in, like, this is a new section. By default, the options that you're given in the pop-up are H2, 3, and 4. And we talked about last week, the reason that H1 doesn't exist is because that's already what's used for the title of the page at the very top. Over here, however, in the block part, you do have more options. So if you were adamant that this was a heading 1, you can get to it over here. You can also change your alignment over here, and you can look into some advanced features. HTML anchor, do you guys remember what that is from HTML class or Sarah's class? Right now, do you remember how that works? If we highlighted that text and gave it an anchor, and it's usually hashtag something, we could then say somewhere at the top, like a table of contents, like jump to this new section, and it just jumps to a spot on that same page. It's not taking you to an external page, it's hyperlinking you to a spot further down on the page. Okay? So that's where you can find that information. So this is a new section. What if we wanted to change it? If we didn't want it to be a heading, we can click on this change block type, and it says, okay, the two options you have now are this can be a paragraph or a quote. Let's change it to a quote, and look how this behaved. And actually, let's just add some blurb. Just keep typing it out so it looks more like a sentence. Select that block. Good typing. And we can make some changes right here with the layout as far as the alignment, left, center, right. We could bold all of it or a word, italicize something, hyperlink it. And then more options appear over on the far right column under the block tab under styles. There are two different styles. Right now the default style is what we're seeing, and also it says, well, it says write the citation. That's usually who said the thing or where you found it. But there's also this other version that's called large. So how you want this quote to look based on this theme, there are two different styles. So here's where you can pick that. The first one looks a little bit too much like regular text, whereas the second one looks like something more impressive maybe. So that's the version that you chose, and it automatically pulled up a class of CSS that would make it look that way. You don't have to worry about that. All right, let's add a new block again, and let's add a list. I think you guys can figure out that's a bulleted or a numbered list, something you do a lot in HTML. Let's look at this thing called cover. It's an image, and let's go to our media library and grab something and bring it back. All right, how this appears again can be changed. Actually notice that it's saying P for paragraph. Go over here to the right, we have an image, and yet it says paragraph. What type do you want? How big? It's kind of like, what's going on? The interesting part, whoops, that's not where it was meant to be. It's meant to be in here. Come on. Why are you not working with me? Edit. Let's try that again. That's what I want. That's what I want. You can type text over this if it would just stop. There we go. Mother of pearl. Let me show you something that does work. The color overlay. There it says right title, finally. So there we go, right title. You can put words on top of a picture. You can change the type size. You can change it by actual points if you want. You can change your background of the type, so you could put a block around it if it's easier to read, or it could be clear. You can change the color of your type to get to something that actually has some contrast that you can read. The other thing you can do when you're clicking on just the image and not the type part of it is this overlay. So if you want it to have a pinkish overlay, white to just kind of mute it down. If you want it to be black so that you can have white text on top of it. These are all your options. And you can also change the opacity of whatever you're choosing here. Let's preview this so you can see how it's behaving in this theme. That's what it looks like right now in this theme. The other thing that you can do, go back to your editing page, is you can change it to have a fixed background. And in these three options here, the one for cover is not showing up. It must not be supported in this theme. Let's turn it to have a fixed background right here and preview that as well. And notice how it behaves differently now. So in a lot of themes, when you do this cover photo, it actually stretches the whole width of your viewport. So it almost serves as a divider, and you could use it as a section divider. You can put the picture in it, have type on it, it's kind of this cool graphic, and it spans the whole width. And when you tell it to fix the background, it gives it that parallax kind of behavior where you notice how it's scrolling through the photo as we go up and down. So it kind of behaves like this mum picture is behaving above me, my featured image. So a cover photo is something, depending on the theme, it's interesting to play around with. My glasses go. All right. What else can we look at? Another pretty cool feature. Let's go down and add another block. And let's go to the formatting blocks. Not formatting, I lied. Let's go to the layout elements. Say we want to put a separator in. Click on that. Notice it comes up with one. And there are different styles over here on the right. So we can have the default line, we can choose a wide line, we can choose dots. Obviously, if you made your own and had some CSS to call this up, you could add your own custom CSS here as well. And then let's go back down and add another block. And add, I want you to go to the embeds, and I want you to just look at this list right now. So under the embeds, we have Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Vimeo. A lot of these you've heard of every single day and use. Other ones, not so much. In last year's web dev class, you guys had to put a YouTube video on a site, right? Or you had to embed it somehow? Or no? No? Okay. Would you want to upload an entire video, save it on your server, and have it play from your server? Good answer. So, loading them to YouTube or Vimeo or any other service and letting them be hosted there and just linking to them is much better. But you also don't really want to link. You don't want to necessarily have your people go out to YouTube just to watch the video, because what could happen? They're gone for the day? Is that what you said? Yeah. You're watching other YouTube videos all day long. So it's better to embed it and have it right on the page. So let's go and do a YouTube embed. And it says, okay, what do you want to embed here? What's the URL? Well, let's go find one. See if we can make this work. So go to YouTube. Find something pleasant, hopefully. Here's relaxing TV for your cats to watch. That's great. Just looking for a slightly shorter one, not that it matters all that much. All right, I'm going to take this one. Oh, good grief. And here is the URL for it. So I can come up here, I can copy it. I'm going to pause this so it doesn't keep playing. I'm going to go back to my edit page, and I'm going to embed the URL right there and click on embed. There it is, embedded on your page. People can watch the YouTube video. without going to YouTube. So another cool thing that you can do is, let's see, oh, I have to log in to be me. I don't really want to do that. Let me think. Twitter.com. Sign up, log in. Do I have to just to look around? I forget who I am. If you were to embed Twitter and you went to an actual post that you made on Twitter and you got the URL of that post, when you do that same process here, it shows it as a Twitter post. It puts the little outline around it and the Twitter icons. It looks like a Twitter post. And you had nothing to do with it. You just simply clicked on it and got it to plug right in. Another thing that you can do, let's go back to your YouTube URL, copy and paste it, or just copy it. And then down here, instead of going to all that work of clicking on the Make New Block, Embed YouTube, just paste your link, and it's smart enough to know what's going on. As long as the link is one of the services that's on that embed list, so as long as it is, whoops, back up, I didn't want to do that. I want to show you what they look like. As long as it's one of these on the list, simply copying and pasting the URL straight into the page will make it work. It's going to know what's going on. Okay. All right. Do you guys see how this is kind of easy enough to use? You just practice and keep trying and figure out what works. The columns, I kind of want to show you that. If you click on the Add a New Block and you go to Formatting and you choose, that's not it, it's Layout Elements, I'll get it right. You choose Columns. On the right-hand side, Paragraph Color Settings Block.
I only have 2 columns.
You should have a,
Large.
You can add, you gotta click like to the left of it on like the little 6 dots so you can have it on the right side.
to the left of it, the 6
Oh, I see.
dots.
Just gotta hover over the top. So
Okay. The thing about these columns is that once you have the columns made, you can put other stuff inside them. So if you make 3 columns, in the first column, you can add a block that's a photo, and then you can add a block that's a paragraph. So they're blocks within that column. It's not that you just have one column to deal with and you can only put one type of content inside them. All right, the last thing I want to share with you is let's find one of these blocks that you're really happy with. Actually, I want to share with you, well, let's just do this. Click the very top of the page, the first paragraph we made, and let's just say that that's a paragraph about, if you have any questions, please contact us at blah, blah, blah. It's something that you'd want to reuse on many pages, perhaps, and not retype every single time. So once you have it highlighted and you click on the 3 dots, there's an option to add as a reusable block. And if you go into that, you have to give it a name. So if this blurb is, if you have any questions, please contact us. Here are ours. Maybe you would call this blurb questions. It's a name that you understand and people working on your site understand that that's what they're gonna, when they type in the reusable block questions, this is what they're gonna get. And then you click Save. So now that's a block that you can reuse on any page. So when you click on the search for a block and you come down to reusable, this one appears. It's one I've already made. So I can click on it and boom, there it is again. So any stuff, and it's not
certain things like that would go in your footer that you want on every single page. Maybe it's a call to action that you would want on all of your sales pages. Make it a reusable block, and then you can very easily pull it up and have it come right back. How they work is that it's actually a post. So if you were to go into this and edit it, let's do it right now. Let's click on the edit button. And in the copy, do something obvious, like maybe make some of the words bold, and then click save. Go up higher in your page where you first used it, and it's automatically updated there. It's a reusable block, so you don't have to keep, you don't have to find all 15 instances on your web page where you have that block and change them. It's kind of like global edits in Illustrator. So that can be really helpful. There's some information that you just use over and over and over again. Okay? All right.
You get viruses from this website.
Okay, let's switch back to the draft if you need to, and so you can publish this page. And the other two things I want to cover today before we get into kind of a project that I'm going to have you guys work on is customizing a site and adding users. The project that I'm going to have you guys do is going to be, you're going to create a website for a travel agency. And you're going to be in teams of 3 and or 4 people. So one person is going to have to set up this website on their server, make the database, make the folder, get the website installed. But then all 3 of you are going to be given rights to work on it. So we're going to learn how to add users and what that means. And if you can accidentally botch up and give somebody too many permissions, and they end up changing things that you didn't want to. So if all 3 of you have administrative rights, which you will because it's a class, if Kyle decides the theme sucks and he changes the theme and the other 2 of you are working on it, it's going to change. And if Andrea says no way and she clicks on another one, it's going to be a battle. So in real life, you probably give one other person a head honcho at a company that right also, but you don't. If people are just writing articles or a post every now and then, they don't need the full rights. They just need rights to post. So we'll look at that. Okay? Everybody feel kind of comfortable with these blocks or feel like you could figure them out? Make some pretty cool stuff. And they are going to look different depending on the theme, which is crazy how different it can look. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and do those other 2 topics.